Good morning, English 9. This is Mrs. Sopiarz-Rianda. And before we get started, I just wanted to say what a great job again. And thank you for all of your hard work last week, logging in to Schoology and submitting an assignment on October 1st. I know you probably heard it from every angle last week, from your counselors, from your teachers, from your vice principal, maybe, hopefully not from your parents, but thank you. It's the way that we keep our doors open, and so greatly appreciated. Thank you. Okay, so this week we are starting a new unit. Unit 3, Grappling with Claims. And in this unit, we are going to be looking at arguments and reasoning and fallacies in nonfiction text. And what we're going to do, a culmination of this unit, is you actually writing and researching an argumentative essay. So to start out, you click on Unit 3, Session 1. And as always, what you do is you click on the weekly video, which is what you're watching right now. And after you watch the weekly video, you click on the session plan. And this is where you find all of the important announcements for the week and the suggested schedule, along with the list of assignments. So, like I mentioned, this is going to be a unit where we focus on arguments, reasonings, fallacies in nonfiction text, mostly in newspapers, magazines, articles. So in this unit, you're also going to be demonstrating that understanding of research through researching and writing an argumentative essay yourself. This week, we're going to be starting on exploring bias in the media. A couple of important announcements. I am not going to be able to have help session this week, so if you have any questions, you can always just contact me directly as usual. All my contact information you should have handy, but if you don't, it's right there. Also, wanted to mention that last day to submit late work for Unit 2 is this coming Sunday before midnight. Remember, you can still get up to 75% credit, so it's still a good chunk of points. The only assignments that are not accepted are discussion assignments. So other than that, submit all your work from Unit 2 except for discussion. Also wanted to mention that next week is parent-teacher conferences. We host them both virtually and face-to-face. So on Tuesday, it is a virtual parent-teacher conference. So I will put a link out, and your parents and you are more than welcome to join your parent or guardian, and we will have a virtual, we can have a virtual parent and teacher conference. If you can't make that, then there are face-to-face parent-teacher conferences scheduled on Wednesday at the Education Center at the Jeffco Ed Building. And for all the details, go to the J21 student page in Schoology, and they'll give you all the details for that. I would love to see any or all of you there, but it's not required. It's just a suggested, but I hope to see you. So here's the list of our assignments this week, along with the due date. It totals up to 90 points, and here's our suggested schedule for the week. So again, it's not a required schedule, but highly recommended. So go over that and be sure to use it if you can. And this video is, I thought, really appropriate to start our session. And Schoology is acting up on me today. Oh no, where'd it go? Oh no, this is going to be trouble. Anyway, you can read the cartoon, but basically it is, oh no, where'd it go? There it goes. Sorry, I'll go to the next page here. Sorry, Schoology is being a little cumbersome today. Okay, so the cartoon says typical media bias. First, they label the wolf the big bad wolf, and then they only give little Red Riding Hood's point of view. And obviously, this kiddo is listening to the story that his mom's telling him about Little Red Riding Hood. So that is definitely something to consider as we are reading for bias, and then eventually at the end of the session, creating bias with words, adjectives such as bad opposed to little, and for the fact that it's from the point of view of Little Red Riding Hood. So point of view is a big deal, because the assignment that you're going to be doing this week is you're going to be taking the point of view of the same story from two different countries, which should make some difference. So click Next to get started. So consider all the various sources we use in our daily lives to learn, like the internet, TV, novels, short stories, newspapers, magazines. Now think about how we receive that information and how it's changed, especially in the last 40 years. For you, it has changed drastically. You guys are the age of the internet, but before that, even 10 or 20 years ago, the internet was just not a source for information. So what we're going to be doing is exploring those concepts further and considering how news agencies gather the news as well as the bias within reporting. So take a few minutes and consider how it is that journalists get their news. With so much going on in the world, how does each news agency cover it all? Well, they don't. Much of the time, newspapers and broadcast news use what's called news wires or news agencies. So, for example, the Associated Press is a news agency, and that provides the same news story to all of its members. So it can provide the same story to us in the United States, or to Canada, or to Mexico, or to the United Kingdoms. And then newspapers use that information to write stories. They can use some of it, they can use all of it, they can use a little bit of it. So while this provides an easy source of content for a lot of different newspapers, it also limits the news we see as consumers because they come from the same agencies. So your first assignment this week is a story comparison. And although news reports generally try to be unbiased and simply report the facts, they don't. Sometimes writers bias can kind of creep in there. So be sure for this assignment that you first watch this video and then submit the assignment on the next page. And that video on the story comparison gives you all the details you need to research and find the articles. And then you're going to be writing a comparison of two articles. And that's where you're going to submit it in the compare and contrast news stories. Then you're going to be thinking about bias. So as you did in the last assignment, different news agencies can have different lenses or different takes on the same story. So you have to consider media is constantly being accused of spinning the news to suit their own political views. That's called bias. So what you're going to do is review these three websites. Each has their own take on whether or not our news media is biased. When you've reviewed all three of those websites, you're going to go to the discussion board and post your opinion on the existing bias in media. So I want you to consider these three questions and post your response on the discussion board. Okay, so consider these questions and answer these questions, and be sure to respond to two other students within the week discussing media and bias in the media. Now that you understand media bias, try creating it in your own work. So this is a bit of creative writing. Below you'll find the facts of a news story. It's completely fictional, completely made up. What you're going to do is you're going to write two news stories. Each time the story should be about 200 to 300 words, about half a page. The first time you write it, you're going to pretend that you are for the rebels. And then the second time you're going to pretend that you are against the rebels. So you should write the story as a news story each time i.e. no opinions, just the facts, but I want you to subtly lean towards your favorite side in each version. So here are some hints on how to do that. Words are magic. Adjectives and adverbs convey your bias. So for example, in the article you might call them brave rebels if you're for them, or if you're against them, you might call them fearless or ruthless. So depending on what side you're on, use adjectives and adverbs to slightly create that bias. And here's that fictional information, the who, what, when, where, why, and you create the bias. So write those 2 articles on the same piece of paper and submit them here. And then you're all done with this week's session. Next week we're going to start writing that argumentative essay. So get ready. Thanks.